Good evening, all. The Department of Professional Management Studies at Christu Jayanti College proudly is hosting 7 days FTP on education excellence and research in digital era. Today is the fifth day of FTP, which is particularly exciting as we explore enhancing research viability and citation. Let us start with a quote. In God we trust, all others must bring data. This is one of the famous quotes by Edward Deming. This emphasizes that if you have to win trust, you have to project sound data, which is tested, critically analyzed, and interpreted. The second quote is on the importance of data again by the same author, which states that without data, you are just another person with an opinion. In today's world, we rely on artificial intelligence, but in business, it is now deemed as artificial intelligence to business intelligence to corporate intelligence. All the three have data as its basis. Today, we have an eminent data analyst with us. It is my privilege to introduce Dr. Paulami Saha. She is a senior researcher, she's a senior research analyst having an experience of over 6 years. Her key skills is feature engineering, statistical analysis, data visualization using Power BI, SPSS, AMOS, structural equation modeling. She is currently working as assistant professor at St. Aloysius, deemed to be University, Mangalore. I would like to extend a special welcome to our esteemed guest for today's section, Dr. Paulami Saha. A warm welcome to our head of the department, Dr. Jisha Viji, whose visionary leadership has made this possible. From the Department of Professional Management Studies, I welcome you, ma'am, to today's session. The section is over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, everyone. A very good evening to everyone present here. I'm Paulami, and today the topic of my discussion session is enhancing research visibility and citation. First, I would like to thank you, the entire team of Christu Jayanti College, for giving me the opportunity to speak and interact with you people. I'll try my level best to add on to your knowledge as much as I can. So before I start with the presentation, I'd like to highlight on a certain fact that the entire theme of the presentation, not the presentation, the entire theme of the entire conference that is going on, the theme is transformation in higher education on educational excellence through teaching and research in digital era. But the topic that we have today, it's about enhancing visibility and enhancing research citations. So it's very sad to say that I cannot use any AI tool, though we are in the digital era. But when you have to work on enhancing your citation or enhancing your research visibility, it's entirely on your hard work and entirely on your self branding, how you present yourself, how you make yourself visible. So don't expect me to introduce or show any AI tool, because we don't have any such AI tool yet, but you never know. The way AI is helping us out, one fine day we might have such AI tools for enhancing citations as well. But yes, we do have measures or some of the strategies that can be done from the side of a researcher to enhance your citations. So those are the discussions that we will have throughout the session. Let me present my slide. Is the slide visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay, thank you. So, before I start with the presentation, I know we have many eminent researchers over here, eminent academicians who are much more senior to me in terms of research, in terms of experience, in terms of everything. And I hope that we have research scholars too. So, for people who are already experienced, they might have some repetitions of the concepts, but I think I can help on to people who have just started their research. So, just to have a rough idea of the demographics, like who are the participants of the program, I would ask you to scan on this QR code. so that I can just get to know that who are the one who are participating in this session. Please scan on the QR code. You will have a poll soon after that, and please respond to the poll. Is the QR code visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is
Okay.
visible.
Okay. Thank you.
The participants are requested to rename their to their name.
I got 4 responses as such. It would be good for me if I have people who have just registered for PhD or going through the research work. I can already see 50-50, so 4 of them have already finished PhD. I'll wait for a minute maybe, and then I'll continue with my presentation.
Ma'am, can you show the QR code?
Yeah, sure. It's okay. I think I'll carry on with the presentation. Again, 50-50. I think I'll start with the presentation. So I think most of you have already finished your PhD. So I'd like to help people who have just started their PhD now. So let's start with the session. So as my topic is on enhancing research visibility and citation, the first and foremost thing is we have to know what is research visibility. So as the definition of research visibility suggests, it refers to the extent to which a researcher's work is discoverable, accessible, and recognized by the academic community, industry, and the public. So when we do research, we have various intentions. The first intention is to do something for the society, and sometimes it's concerned about adding on to the body of knowledge. Whatever is our intention, we should make sure that our research is visible. If we keep our research up to ourselves, that is not going to serve the purpose, right? So it's very important to make sure whatever is your area of research, we should make the research work visible to others, so that is helpful for other researchers as well as any other policy makers who can use your research work further for policy generation also. So what are the key elements of research visibility? The first thing is accessibility, then comes citations, searchability, and dissemination. So these are the important elements which are associated to research visibility. So when I speak about accessibility, how widely the research is accessible through open access journals. It's very difficult to publish in an open access journal. There are various constraints. What are those constraints? We'll be discussing on that in the further slides. But first and foremost thing is, as much as possible from the side of the researcher, we should make sure that our research work is accessible. Then is citation again. Obviously, everyone, it's a dream like to get citation. Once you get citation, only then you get to know that okay, the work is being cited means might be it's a good work or a quality work, or you are able to contribute something or help some other researchers also. So obviously getting a citation is an important aspect when it comes to research visibility. Then comes searchability. When it comes to searchability, it's nothing but there are various domains of research. Now, we are into social science, we are doing research in social science. But again, we are various domains as well in social science: marketing, HR, finance, then operations, then analytics. Various domains are there. And under every domain, again, we have various type of niche segments where we can actually focus on. When we start off research, we cannot focus on an entire big domain. We generally narrow down our topic. So it's very important that you mention such keywords in your research that the research becomes searchable. For example, I am doing my research in behavioral intention on usage of UPI. So henceforth, if anyone is searching papers with UPI, I should make sure that my paper is searchable. It's visible to others. And how do I do that? By mentioning important keywords. If you remember, whenever you write an article, first the paper starts with abstract, and soon after abstract, you have to mention some keywords. Those keywords are really important. Depending on those keywords, your research work becomes like visible to others. Hence, it becomes searchable for others who are looking for research in the same domain. Next becomes dissemination. It's nothing but the effort made by the researchers to promote their work. When you go for any research conference or something, we generally start discussing about our topic. The only intention is we want others to know that this is my area of research. If anyone is there who is in the same area, then either you can indulge into fruitful discussions. Also, if the other party is interested, you can go for collaborative work also. So these are the major factors. These are the major factors which enhances research visibility. Now, why is it important to make your research visible? There are various factors that depends on person to person for which reason you will be making your research visible. The first one being career advancement. Now, people who just started their research work, for them it's very important to make others know that how your research is into. Now, there are such researchers who don't want to make the research visible. They stay happy knowing that, okay, I'm doing a good research work. If anyone gets my research, if it is useful for others, good. Even if no one gets it, no problem. I'll be happy knowing that I have done a good research work. But when it comes to career advancement, you have to go for, self-promotion or self-branding, if you say. So you have to let others know that this is my research work. These are the citations I got. You have to inform others, kind of advertising. You have to do your own advertising. Then comes impact on the society. There are research work which has really major impacts on the society. Some of us do research only for completing our PhD. That is nothing wrong. Completing PhD itself is a very huge objective. That's nothing wrong. But again, there are people who are doing research solely for the purpose of serving the society. So those people are actually doing something better for the society, and hence, as they are going to serve the society, they should make sure that the research is visible, because others will not get to know that this certain sector has been researched by the researcher, and this can be impactful for the society. Next comes wider reach and impact, academic recognition, attracting collaboration. As I said, these are the factors why research visibility is important. Now, attracting collaboration, it sounds very easy. It's very easy to go and collaborate with a researcher. But trust me, this networking and collaboration is really difficult. For people, especially who are introvert, though, it's very, very difficult. Even if you're an extrovert, people are all not comfortable working together. Though if you get a collaborator, it might turn up that the one who is collaborating with you, the way both of you work are different. So as a result, collaboration doesn't work out. So getting a good collaborator it's a matter of luck as well. Then research visibility is important for influencing policy and practice also. Like, for example, when I have done my research, I have done it on usage of UPI and behavioral intention of people. So I have identified some certain factors, and I have used a model called UTAUT, which is called Unified Theory of Acceptance and Use of Technology. Many of you will already know the model. It's a very famous model proposed by Venkatesh. Yeah. So when he proposed the model, he combined various certain theories and proposed the model. And I have used the model in a certain different perspective. The intention was to see why people are using UPI. That time UPI was just introduced, so that was a very trending topic, so I thought of taking it as a topic of my research. Now, what was one of my important finding was that word of mouth was one of my variables. So I found that word of mouth content has an impact on behavioral intention. That was a new variable like introduced in that area. So if I make my work visible only then, and if I tag NPCI and if I use in my keywords NPCI and UPI, then maybe if I'm lucky, then NPCI will get to observe that what research is going on in the area. And if they think that, okay, this is an important finding that we can focus on, well, while policy generations, policy regulations, whatever necessary steps they have to take, they can actually focus on to the research findings going on in those sectors. So as a result, research visibility is very important for influencing policies also. Coming to the importance of continuing on to it, I have just focused on the detailed versions. Research visibility is crucial because it directly impacts the research influence and overall success of researchers' work. And more visible the research work, more chances that people will read your paper. And if people read your paper more, you have more chances of getting citations. You have chances of getting more collaborators. So these are the topic I have already discussed. Now, as we have already said, like what is research visibility? But ultimately, before making your research visible, first you have to make sure that you do the research. And once this itself, doing the research itself is very difficult. And soon after the research is done, a lot of effort is already being put for publication, then tension comes of citation. Now, what is citation actually? A citation is a way to give credit to the original source of information, ideas, or words that a researcher uses in his or her own work. It shows where the researcher got the information from, so others can find and verify it. So basically, citation is nothing but the original work that you are referring to. We as researchers cannot state something very new. If you have to prove something, you have to make sure that that very information has been already discussed prior. And if you are going to propose entirely a new topic, that role is totally different. In that case, you have to have a very good research profile. And at the same time, you have to make sure that the new idea gets published in a very good, in a high impact factor journal. Only then you have chances of, making sure that the new idea is getting visibility and getting research visibility throughout. Now, when I say citation, there are certain confusions. Like when we read a paper, we see how a citation look like. Okay, I'll just first discuss what are citations, how the citations look like. We have something called in-text citation. What in-text citation actually is: brief references that appear in the body of the paper, usually including the author's last name and the year of publication. Soon after, I'll show a paper. So this is one paper I found. This is an open access paper because it was published in 2023. And now it's already having access. I guess it's an open access paper. So here, if you see these blue things, whatever comes in the bracket, these are called citations. Now, whenever a certain line is stated, a certain sentence, if you look into the introduction part, the effectiveness of a country's monetary and financial institutions is a crucial determination of economic development, and it is significantly influenced by the widespread adoption of cashless transaction. Now, this could have been stated by the author himself, right? This is nothing which has to be supported. Like the main author of the paper is Mr. Vimal Raj. So he himself could have stated that this is my own sentence because that's a general sentence, right? But he preferred to give citations for it. When I say citations, it says that this author is Semi 2006 and Hassan et al. 2012 and Zandi et al. 2013. All of them have somehow mentioned this fact in their own research work. So as a result, we as researchers, when we state something, to justify that I'm not the only one who is speaking about it, other researchers who have already published their work, they have already spoken about the same topic. So now another confusion sometimes arises when we go for research work. In my work, I want to write the entire thing, the entire first sentence that is given in this paper. Okay, the topic of the paper is factors influencing adoption of cashless transactions during COVID-19. An extension of enhanced UTAUT with pandemic precautionary measures. That is the topic of the research. And they have started with a general introduction. So maybe you as a researcher, when you also have the same area, let us consider you have the same area, and you want to start your paper, or at some part of your paper, you want to write the same thing. Now confusion comes, should I cite all these people who are already there, or should I cite the original author of the paper? There is nothing wrong in citing everyone, including the original author of the paper and also other authors who have already been mentioned by this author. Now that is up to you. If you have quite a good amount of word limit and can mention all the references in your paper, then you can mention everyone, whoever spoke about it, everyone's name can be mentioned. There is nothing wrong in having a lot of citations. But again, you have to remember a fact that whenever you write citations, for every citation, you should have a reference also, right? So in that way, if you keep on adding multiple citations and references, your word count for the paper increases. And as we know, when we go for publication, word count is limited. Generally, it's up to 6,000 to 8,000 words. For some journals, they give it to 8 to 10,000. So it's good if you have a good word limit. But again, if you have a restriction on the word limit, we generally focus on citing onto the research, the recent work that has been done. For example, now it's 2024. If I'm citing now, I'll definitely cite Raj et al., Vimal Raj et al., because they have published it in 2023, followed by the one who published in 2020, 2013 and 2012. If possible, I would skip the first author because that's a publication that happened pretty much earlier. So that is how in-text citations are being given preference, like which citation you should choose. That's how you have to take the call onto that. Okay. After in-text citations, we have reference list. So what is that reference list? We all know that whoever we have cited in the paper, all those things had to be mandatorily added in the reference list also. And when we have to go for citations, there are some of the styles that has to be focused on. That is APA, MLA, Chicago. There are various styles of citation depending on the journal's requirements. You have to keep on changing the styles. The change is nothing much. Maybe we are having a comma in between the author's name and the year of publication. In some of the styles, the comma is not there. It's just the author name and directly and the year of the publication. So that's nothing very different. But yes, in case, let it not happen, in case you get a rejection from one journal and you're planning to send the same paper to some other journal, as a researcher, it's our duty to check whether this journal is accepting the same citation style or not. Now, when at the beginning of my session, I said that we don't have any AI tools for enhancing our citation, but yes, for writing the citations, for managing the citations, we have various reference management tools and citation management tools like Mendeley, Zotero. Many other tools are there. Those can be used for citation. But personally, if you ask me, I do trust AI and I use AI tools too. But at the end of the day, it's good to check from your side that whatever you have cited in a paper, whether all the citations have been truly mentioned in the reference list also. Now in India, like whenever we send some papers, we obviously cross-check. Maybe a AI generated reference list or maybe a manually created reference list. We prefer checking it, but human errors are always there. We might end up missing a certain citation, or maybe you cited the author but didn't mention the author's name and the entire research work in the reference list. This is actually considered as offensive. I have heard such stories where researchers forgot, not intentionally, somehow because of human error, unintentionally, the researcher forgot to cite a certain article, and later it's not in India, abroad, obviously. It was actually considered offensive, and the consequence was not that great. The consequence was not good at all. So as a result, it suggested that whenever we go for citations, even if you use AI tools, you please go through and go for a manual check, not once, multiple times, to make sure that we give due acknowledgement to the work we are referring to. Now, there are some measurement index based on which we identify the quality of a researcher's work. These two are there are many various indexes. I'll be indices. I am focusing on H index and I10 index. So H index is a metric used to measure a researcher's impact based on their publication. And how do we measure H index? A researcher has H index of H if they have H papers that have each been cited at least H times. It might sound little, tongue twister kind of H, H, H. So I have an example as well. Let us suppose that the researcher has an H index of 10. It means that the researcher has already 10 papers published, and each of those 10 papers have been cited at least 10 times. Only then the H index will turn to H. Sorry, I'll turn to 10. And then when we discuss about I index, it's actually called I10 index. There is a reason for I index being known as I10 index, because comparatively, when you compare between H index and I index is easy to calculate. It's nothing but if your paper gets 10 citations, if the researcher has a citation of 15, it means that 15 papers have been cited at least 10 more times. To make it more clear, I'll show you the Google Scholar profile. I'll show it a little later. I'll just finish my presentation and then I'll continue with it. Okay, so as we have an idea of H index and I index, both these indices, we can have access to both these indices in our Google Scholar profile. Why I didn't show it? Because I have to discuss about Google Scholar profile also. So once I have a small discussion about all those social media sites, after that we will be having a view of how those sites look like. So how to enhance my research visibility and citation? By publishing in high impact open access journals. Now this high impact is known to all of us. It's very easy for me to write publishing in a high impact journal, but we all know how difficult it is to get published in a high impact journal. But yes, in case it gets published, it's very good for us. So if you have a research paper in a high impactful journal, then obviously you will have chances of getting more citations, because when you reach that position of publishing in a high impact journal, means you have gone through lot of revisions, lot of reviews from experts. So it is expected that it is a good paper. And if we all know, we go through memes always that the proposal or the first paper that we send to the journal, it looks something, and when it gets reviewed by multiple reviewers and it gets revision and revision, it doesn't at all look like the one that we have sent at the very first go. The entire scenario changes, and so many things changes. The paper starts looking something different. So because it goes through so many revisions and so many additional concepts that are being suggested by the reviewers, so it is considered that yes, now the research work is eligible to be published in a high impactful journal, and henceforth it is very trustworthy for researchers to cite your paper. Next comes open access journal. Now this open access is something which is not very easy to get published. Why you say not very easy? This is not because of the quality. Even if you have a publication in a high impactful journal, it might not be an open access journal. This is because to publish in an open access journal, you need to pay a publication charge, which is not very less. They speak in terms of dollars. So it gets very difficult for us to pay that certain fee. This is possible only if you have someone funding your research. If your research is funded by organizations, then it might not be very difficult for you to publish in an open access journal. The paper that I showed you first, the factors influencing something during COVID, that was an open access journal. So I'm not telling that open access journals are not good. Obviously, if the paper has gone through a certain review process, if it's a peer-reviewed journal and open access in a peer-reviewed journal, only then the research is considered to be a good research work, and it is worthy to get citations also. So your target should be to publish in a high impactful journal and in open access journals, provided you have enough funds with you to get it published. Not there is another kind of open access journal also where your paper doesn't get reviewed at all. You just pay and publish. That should be known as a paid journal rather than an open access journal, but somehow these are also called open access journals because you can actually have access to the papers, and those are not actually reviewed also by the reviewers. So that is your call as a researcher to decide whether the research work is citation worthy or not. Next, coming to the conference. Presenting at conference is a very good way to enhance your research visibility and enhance your citation also. Now, there is a start to that. Provided your research work is already published and a part of the work you are just presenting in the conference, this is good. That can be done. But it is not advisable to go and present in the conference the entire conceptual model or your research idea entirely if it is not published. This is because this is where you are telling that this is my research idea. You are informing others your research idea, and in case you are not able to get your research work published and someone else publishes it before you, then your work will have no novelty. So only if the work is already published, only then you can go and present a part of it in the conference so as to enhance your citations. Then using a descriptive title and a proper keyword. I have something in the chat box. Ma'am, can you show?
No, ma'am, it's
Okay,
just
here maybe. Okay, sorry. Okay. So then comes using a proper descriptive title and a keyword. Like we all know that whenever we have to decide on to the title, it takes a lot of time to decide on the title. We generally write, the general practice is writing 2, 3, 4 titles that are possible. Then you keep on brainstorming which one is more effective, which is more catchy. It's very important to have a catchy title. That is not for visibility, that is actually to getting your work published. So it's very important to have a catchy title. At the same time, not only using good jargons or good words will make your work publishable, you have to make sure the title itself speaks about the entire work. So it's very important to have a good title as well as to have good keywords. This keyword is very important because to make your work searchable, it's important that you use correct keywords. I'll give an example. For example, if you are working, let us suppose you're working on handloom adoption. So when you talk about handloom, in your title, sustainability is not there at all. But we know usage of handloom is associated to sustainability, right? So it is expected that, not expected, like you can have sustainability as one of the keywords in your paper so that whenever any other researcher wants to have access to papers which is concerning sustainability, they can also see your paper. Your paper also reflects in front of them so that they can also see your paper. And in case their work is also associated to handloom, they can cite your paper as well. Another way of enhancing research visibility is having an ORCID ID. What is an ORCID ID? Actually, it's more like one research ID or with one ID or having a Google profile. It's a profile which all researchers generally have where all their work is generally associated or linked to it. So as a result, if you have an ORCID ID, whenever you have to go for publication, you need not to enter the basic details. Now I'm deviating from the research visibility. I'm talking about ORCID ID. This ORCID ID is very helpful. So it's very much suggested to all the researchers to have an ORCID ID. Once you have an ID, whenever you go for communicating to journals, writing itself is a very tiring work. And once you are done with the writing, when you start communicating your paper, you have many formalities to be done. What is your name, address, which organization, many other factors comes. But if you have an ORCID ID, you just give your ORCID ID, it directly takes all the information from your ORCID ID, and those formalities are being taken care of in just a minute. So it's good to have an ORCID ID. Then other ways of enhancing research visibility is using social media and academic platforms like LinkedIn, ResearchGate, and Google Scholar. Now, when I say, I already said that going to conference is not presenting the entire work, then how is it possible to make your research work visible in the social media? I'm not talking about publishing the entire work or, posting the entire research paper in social media. Rather, you can go for some small write-ups in your LinkedIn profile or in ResearchGate. What is your work all about? So if you have some major write-ups and use some keywords, any researcher who has the same area might contact you for your paper. And then in that scenario, you can have a collaboration also. And when it comes to sharing, there is another important factor that you should always focus on. For example, your work already got published. And it's visible as well because you have mentioned about your work in the ORCID ID and you have updated in the Google Scholar also. Everywhere you have updated that you have a publication. Now, what happens is you might get a request in your mail because in our in the article itself we will have contact information. You might get mails that can you please share the article with me. Now, there are some clause you are actually not allowed to share the article even if it is published. Ethically, you are not allowed to share the article even after it is published because of uh, because of a thing called embargo period. There is something called embargo period, which the journals always keep. It varies from journals to journals. For some journals, the embargo period is 6 months. For some, it is 12 months. So why do they keep that embargo period? It is just to make sure that they can sell their print versions more, and also they can have more subscriptions. Now, you as a researcher can share the article, that's not a problem. But in case it comes a notice of the journal, then that's not good. I cannot say you'll be blacklisted. I don't know what will happen, but it is not suggested. It's not ethical to share your article within the embargo period. Once your publication has crossed the embargo period, now it is okay for you to share your articles wherever you want. In that way, you will get visibility also, you will get citations also. That's gonna serve the purpose. The another way of enhancing your research visibility is using visual and multimedia content. Uh, Mostly in if you'd have communicated journal articles to Elsevier, you will see they have an option where they ask for graphical abstract. Now, this graphical abstract is something like this. I have not seen much research work in social science where they have. I wanted to keep a graphical abstract of social science, I couldn't get one. So this is something of the medical domain. So that is how a graphical abstract looks like. It will have figures, it will have the main indicators, the major findings. What we talk in terms of data visualization, we say KPIs, the key performance indicators. So in a graphical abstract, you have to make sure all the KPIs are mentioned. In that way, like it's very catchy also, and it becomes very easier for the reader also to read your abstract. I have already explained about these topics. When you have to go for research visibility and enhancing your citation, first and foremost thing is publishing in open access and high impactful journal. Another good way of getting more citation is writing a review paper. Now we have various methodologies for writing review papers. Like we can use bibliometric analysis, we can go for systematic literature review. There are various ways of conducting a literature review paper. What happens in a review paper? If a reader gets to read your review paper once, in one paper, they have a lot of information. So as a result, from one paper, they get a lot of information, and those papers have maximum chances of getting cited. So it's suggestible to, if you want more citations, like if your goal is to have more citations in your profile, then it's suggested to write a review paper. Along with that, this is something which I personally think helps a lot, that is including a questionnaire in the article. In case you are dealing with the primary data, obviously you will have a questionnaire with you. Using this questionnaire, you would have conducted your research. So it is advisable to put that questionnaire because we all know how much we struggle to have access to those scales or measure to all those questionnaires to conduct a research. It becomes very easy for a researcher to continue their work because conceptual work is somehow conducting research gap, doing literature review. Somehow we get to know, somehow we can finalize our conceptual work. Soon after the conceptual model is finalized, we have to focus on to whether the variables that we are suggesting, can we measure it? Do we have a question for that? So we start looking for questionnaires and articles. So in case you have your questionnaire mentioned in your article, so you have maximum chances of getting a citation. But again, this was my objective for quite a long time, that I will have an article where the questionnaire is given. Every time I think I'll mention the questionnaire, every time I cannot mention it because of the word limit that they have. You have to write your introduction, literature review, and then whatever data analysis. After mentioning everything, you have no word left to mention your questionnaire. So in case you can make sure that questionnaire inclusion is possible, please go for it. I am sure that that will help you to earn more citations. Now, once publication is done, the major work is done. Next is what do you do once the publication is already done. Then next comes promotion, self-promotion. Go and inform all others that this is my research work that is already published. You can go for, there are people who actually requests for citation. Like it doesn't sound very good, but that's normal. So I don't feel that is nothing, it's wrong to discuss about it, because I've seen people, why don't you cite my paper? It doesn't sound very good. It sounds very desperate when a researcher comes and tells, why don't you cite my paper for it? Obviously, you are very close to a researcher. You can actually have a, one-to-one discussion. You also cite my paper, I'll also cite your paper. That's not very formal, but actually this happens. The same thing that happens in Instagram. If you have an Instagram profile, if it's a business profile, you will get messages like, what about a follow for a follow, a like for a like? It's kind of a business. You like my post, I will like your post. The same thing happens in the research world also. You cite my paper, I'll cite your paper. There is nothing wrong in it. It can be done only if the research area is same. But again, that that happiness doesn't come if you ask for a citation. Only when you get a citation through your quality work, only then that happiness you will have. But at the end of the day, citation matters. So in case you are okay with asking for a citation, you can definitely ask for it. Not a problem. Next comes giving presentation. I already discussed about it. Then funding, collaborators. I have already discussed about these topics. Next come the social media profiles. These are the various profiles that you might have, which includes an ORCID ID, a Google Scholar profile, a ResearchGate profile, and a LinkedIn profile. Now, coming to all these profiles, including ORCID and Google Scholar and LinkedIn, there are places where you can mention about it, like what are your articles, what are the published articles. But when it comes to ResearchGate, it's little more than only making your research work visible. That's the platform which turns to be very helpful for researchers, because sometimes when this ResearchGate becomes more helpful when you come to your data analysis section of your research. This is because when you conduct your data analysis, you will come across lot of problems which you are not at all expecting. Like you will see, obviously data analysis we learn through YouTube. That is what I have learned from. So when we were learning from YouTube, everything looks very easy. When you apply the same thing in your analysis, you will come across very weird kind of errors which you don't know how to solve it. So that is a platform. Whatever doubt you have, whatever errors you are getting in your analysis, you can directly post those errors in the ResearchGate, and you will have answers from eminent researchers. They are really helpful. They'll help you out with any sort of doubt, not only in terms of analysis. Even if you have conceptual doubts, you can just post your questions in the ResearchGate. You will definitely get answers from researchers who have already worked on those topics. And you can have a discussion also. So that there is a major difference between these. ORCID is more into where you mention your publications and how many citations. ORCID generally takes citations automatically. Every time you get a citation of your paper, ORCID gives you a notification, or you get an email from ORCID that you have a new citation. The same you get from Google Scholar also. So what I would like to show you is how a Google Scholar profile look like, because I had to discuss about H index and I index. H index was, just to repeat once again, H index is H papers cited at least H times. So what I'll do is I'll just show my Google Scholar profile. If you know the name of the author, you can just write the name of the author and go to their profile. So this is my Google Scholar profile. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible, ma'am.
Okay. So if, as I said that H index from my profile, if you can see, my H index is 2 and my I10 index is 1. This is because out of the papers that I have, there is only one paper which got more than 10 citations, and I10 index will increase only if you get more than 10 citations. I have only one paper which has more than 10 citations, so that's why my I10 index is only 1. Whereas H index is 2 because I have papers, but these last three papers, those were not cited. As a result, my H index did not increase beyond 2. Now, in case I have a citation here, let us suppose for this paper, Handloom and Resource Equity, this one I got one more citation for this paper. So I would like to ask you, will my H index increase if I get a citation in this paper? If anyone would like to.
No, ma'am, it will not.
It will not increase. Thank you, sir, for responding. It will not increase because why, sir? Why will it not increase?
Ma'am, why? Because H times it has to be. So if suppose second is 2 and third it has to be at least 3 citations, then your H index will be 3.
Exactly. Now, if as I have received only for two papers, so my HNDC is two. Only also for the third paper, if I get another citation, still it will not be three. Also, if I get three citations from the third paper, from this handloom paper, if I still get three citations, it will not increase until and unless I have another citation in the second paper, because this is still at two. So that is how the H index and the I index varies. Only if you have papers who have more than 10 citations, it will increase the I index, whereas H index is rather more critical. The number of citations and the number of publications, where number of papers where you got citations, should go hand in hand for your H index to increase. That is how Google Scholar profile generally look like. You will have all your papers over here. So what I am doing now can also be considered as a self advertisement. I'm showing you, see, these are the papers that I have. My area is technology adoption and behavioral study. Actually, I'm making my research work visible, so that also can be done. But I'm not telling you please go and cite my paper. But so that is how self promotion to a certain limit, to a certain extent, is good, but considering your ethics, that should be done. So coming back to my presentation once again. Oh, I'm done with my presentation. Thank you so much. As the presentation is almost done, I would again ask you to scan the QR code once. I have a small quiz for you. If you can just go through it, it's very easy. But still, I want you to go through the quiz because I could not show any AI tools. Neither I could make it interactive. So just a 2 minutes of quiz we have. Please scan the QR code and let me know once it is scanned. I will project the questions.
Participants, kindly scan the QR code.
Is it done?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh God, I just turned off the entire thing. 1 minute, I'll just take a minute.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in the message it is saying that it shows the first QR code scan with question.
Sorry, ma'am, can you please repeat once?
It shows the first QR code question, ma'am. In the chat box, there's a
Yeah,
message.
I'll just check once. 1 minute.
First question is coming, I think. The
Yeah.
QR code.
Shows the first QR code question. Okay. I think you have started getting the question. Yes, I can see many people scanned it.
Yes, ma'am, we can also see.
Okay. Can you see the score as well?
Yes, ma'am, we can see, ma'am.
Okay.
Secretary.
I'll go for the next question.
Ma'am, in the chat box,
Huh.
one participant is asking, can the QR code can be scanned again?
I think it can be scanned. Yes, 1 minute. Okay. I'll just show the QR code. Can you see the QR code now?
Yes, ma'am, we can see.
Should I continue?
Yes, ma'am, you can continue, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We have 6 right answers and 1 wrong answer. So we have the winners. I have nothing for you other than clap, so I'll just clap for you all. And that's it. I hope I could add on to something. If you, I'm open for questions. If you can ask me, you can ask me something.
Thank
Any
you, ma'am.
questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Now the platform is open for question and answer session. If you have any queries, you can clarify or leave a message in the chat box. Also, the feedback form is also been sent in the chat box. Participants kindly fill that as well.
I got a question from Mr. Vinay Krishna. So if TAM when proposed was a concept, but when pursued with empirical evidence, it got proved and published with some preconceived notions or existing variables in that context. So was that a question or like I didn't get it? Okay, that's what that question.
Ma'am, another question also came. Can a printed journal article can be added in the Google Scholar?
Which one, ma'am? Can a printed journal article be added? Yes, why not? That can be added because once it's printed, definitely it can be added. And also, if you have your DOI, you can add on to it to make it like to prove that's actually published everywhere. There is no hiding in it. It's always suggested to use your DOI. It Any other questions?
Any other questions, participants?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I am also a faculty at Christu Jayanti College,
Hello, ma'am.
and I really liked your lecture because you spoke with a lot of clarity. And even though I'm from the Department of English, but then still I felt that you gave a lot of insight about like how we can go ahead and have more clarity and authenticity about our research.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. My question was, ma'am, that of late we are getting suggestions and we are getting requests of publishing Scopus indexed books. And then we get to know that you publish a book and then it is indexed in Scopus. So can you give us or throw some light on as to how does this happen and what is the process or how do we go about it?
Whenever you have to publish anywhere, may it be a book chapter or a journal article, wherever it is always suggested to first check where it is getting published, whether it is indexed or abstracted or not. In every journal paper that you open, not paper, in every journal you open, you have a column called indexing and abstracting. So abstract and indexing. So you have to check whether in that list Scopus is there or not. It may be Scopus, it can be UGC CARE. So whatever is your criteria, based on that, you should take the decision. But I would suggest it's always good to have Scopus indexed. It can be Q1, Q2, Q3, whatever it is. But in the indexing part, if it is written Scopus indexed, in that there is no chances of it being fake. You can go and check that publishers or the journal wherever they are publishing. If in the indexing part, if it is mentioned Scopus, it is safe to publish there, ma'am. Nothing wrong in it or no risk in that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, there's one more question in the chat box. That please, how to add your article in the Google Scholar manually?
That is your profile, right? Like create your profile first and then, oh, 1 minute.
Ma'am, click on
And
the
then you have
three
to go for
dots.
update your
Add.
profile.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're doing the right way. You can go.
Ha. Go to the. No. Somewhere I went wrong. No, I have taken the wrong route. 1 minute. In this page itself, somewhere, if you open your profile, you can add on. You have an option of adding your articles here. I'm not getting it somehow.
Madam, could you please elaborate how to add maybe PDF?
No,
Maybe
you cannot add, like, you need not to upload your public or your entire article, and you just have to write the name of the article and mention that you are the author of the article, then automatically it will be updated in Google Scholar. You need not to attach the article at all. Just the name of the paper, journal name, pages, all those things are to be mentioned. You need not to upload your article, sir.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
there's a one
where I
question.
got this, whom I get the question from? How to
Uh,
create DOI. So you need not to create DOI. Once your article gets published, it comes with the publication. Once it is accepted, the journal itself will share the DOI number with you. And as soon as you have your DOI, that's confirmed that your journal is properly published in the correct journal, and you can share your DOI henceforth. That ensures the authenticity of the journal.
Ma'am, people might be asking if suppose it is printed journal, so how they can create DOI. So I think ResearchGate, you are putting your abstract and other things on ResearchGate. You can create your DOI and that you can put somewhere.
Sir, I'm not very sure about creating DOI. I have to go through it because I'm not sure about the fact. I have to read about it further, sir.
Okay.
I'm
I think
not aware of that. I have to read.
we can create on ResearchGate actually.
Okay. Thank you for the information, sir. I was not aware of it. Anju, ma'am, I'll get back to you. I'll help you out with updating it manually. Somehow it's not working out now. I'll get back to you. I'll have your email ID in the list
Good
of
evening, ma'am.
participants. I'll share it with you.
Ma'am, I understood. Actually, I was thinking कि we can upload the article
No.
completely.
So an
I'll
article you
listen
need
to
not to
you.
upload. Rather, you
Okay.
should not upload it, ma'am, because it's better that the readers go directly through the journal and read your paper.
Okay. Because I have recently started with this Google Class Scholar, ma'am. So two of my articles are directly linked, I think, through Google. So it's directly coming. So I thought कि
Okay.
other things are
So
not
you can
coming.
add it as well. And
So
also you
yes.
can go for subscription also. Like whenever any paper gets published in that area, you will get a mail that one new paper has been published in that area by whoever is the author. You will get a mail if you have subscribed
Okay.
to a certain keyword and year.
Okay, ma'am. Otherwise, I got, ma'am. There's a plus sign near the title where we can
I'm not
upload
getting
as
it
we
somehow.
see.
I don't know why.
It's okay. I understand, but I'm able to find it
Thank you.
on this. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Wonderful presentation, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
ma'am.
much.
Ma'am, usually how much, like suppose one book is published with certain book chapters, and usually how much it takes to get indexed, but that particular book, suppose Taylor and Francis, it is an edited book, and then how much it takes time to get indexed?
Ma'am, would you like when you say indexed, what do you actually mean? Published or like indexed means indexing will not change. Wherever it is indexed, it's an indexed journal itself. Like I didn't get the question
No,
of.
no. Suppose through conference proceedings, one book has come out, and it is carrying a lot of book chapters from different authors, and then it is already published. But as per I heard, it takes some time to get indexed in Scopus. So
That
usually,
is like they might be trying with the quality. Like if they have like have you gone it for a conference publication?
yes, ma'am.
Sometimes it is said that we will work on the indexing. Later, most of the times it happens that the quality of all the papers didn't come up to the marks, so they didn't get the indexing. But it's the negative part of it which I'm discussing about. In case they fulfill the criteria, whatever Scopus has, it will get indexed. But how much time that need, that I'm not very sure about it. I'm not very sure how much time it will take to get indexed. That depends how fast the publication happens, how fast the publishers are. Because I have published one paper in 2022, not published. My paper got accepted in 2022 and still it's not published.
Okay.
But it's not that it will not be published. I had a word with the publishers. They said it will be published later, but sometime
Oh.
soon. So we cannot say. That depends on how they work, on their work speed and culture, maybe.
And what is the weightage when we go by conference proceedings, ma'am? Like, is it like not obvious?
Basically, you should give more importance to journal articles, because that's where
Yes.
you get more visibility also, and the quality of the paper also comes out good because it gets peer reviewed. Many reviewers will, not many, maybe 2 to 3 reviewers will at least review your paper.
Yes.
So whatever you have proposed, you will get good feedbacks on it, and your work will also enhance. Once it gets reviewed, you will actually realize, why didn't I think? So obviously, with experience, they give us good feedbacks, and once you work on it, it's preferable to go for journal publications, though it takes time, but it has more weightage than conference publication, ma'am.
Yes. 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 Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, one more question has come from Rahula. Is there a difference between Scopus index with abstract and index one?
I don't know. I think Scopus indexed is what we look for. It should be indexed by Scopus. But Scopus abstract, what is it? I have no idea, sir. We have to again chat GPT maybe, or talk to a more expert person to have an idea about it. I have no idea about Scopus abstract, but I generally focus, when we decide on to selecting a journal for publication, we generally focus on Scopus indexed journals.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions? I hope all your queries are addressed. Gentle reminder for filling the feedback form. As we conclude today's session, I extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Paulami Saha for sharing your valuable insights. It was indeed a wonderful and enriching session. I would like to thank our head of the department, Dr. Jisha Viji, for the constant support and engagement. A special gratitude to all the participants, all and faculty members for your active involvement and making this session a success. Let us continue this journey of learning and innovation together. Tomorrow, we'll be back with session on research collaboration and networking in the digital world by the expert Dr. Violet Glady P., Assistant Professor, Stella Maris College. So kindly join tomorrow by 5:45 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Ma'am, can I disconnect?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Paulami ma'am. It was a
Thank you.
wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, we can end the meeting. You can leave the meeting. We'll
Okay,
end the
okay.
meeting.
Thank
Yeah.
you, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir. Ishan sir, can you please end the meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.